Is that it?
Yes.
Okay.
And it's, in the long run, they say that it's to affect them going into the bad crowd. They were never outside to see what the bad crowd is, so they won't know how to avoid them.
Okay. So not letting children, always locking them in, not giving them the chance to get to know the world for themselves. Letting them when they already have grown that stage that they ought to know all of that. You mean they will end up missing with the background anyway because they didn't, they were not given the chance to figure out what the bad crowd is or what the good crowd is. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
And can you emphasize more to the parents, please? What would you like to tell the parents on your own now? Send a message out there to all the parents of 18 children out there.
Now, restricting your kid thinking that it's for good grades is all you're doing is the complete opposite. You're not doing anyone, they're not going to get any good grades. In the long run, even if they do good grades, they're not going to be able to get a proper job because they can't socialize. And interviews, all those big presentations is what's going to help you get a good job if they want. But they won't know how to do any of that because they couldn't even go outside to talk to somebody. So how in a big room full of very important people, they're all just going to start shaking their story, not being able to speak fluently. It's going to make them look unserious and stuff. They're amateur, they don't know what they're doing.
Okay. So what you're saying now is letting your children socialize with other also give them the sort of confidence that they need to stand up there to anything or anyone and present themselves without fear or intimidation. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, and it's someone's trying to peer pressure them into doing something they don't want to. They're going to give into it because they feel like they have to finally accept it into the crowd since they're just now being able to hang around people they want to be with.
Wow. So say that again. Say that again.
They're going to be able to get this. They're being peer pressured into something they don't want to do. They're going to fall into the peer pressure because now that they're finally allowed to hang around these people, they want to get the validation and don't want to look like the uncool one. So they didn't do what they're supposed to. They're supposed to do.
Okay. So what Lordship is saying is, especially for my African sisters or brothers who probably go, oh, let us speak, let us speak. So Lordship is was born in Ireland, raised up in Ireland, and the Irish to nation. For those of you probably like find it difficult to catch up, that's why I'm trying to repeat everything he's saying. What Lordship is saying is another thing with peer pressure is when you pressure your children so much to do well, to do this, and also restricting them from going out. By the time they eventually get to go out, when they've gone, when they didn't have the opportunity or the chance to get to know the word for themselves, so the same trouble that you were avoiding in the first place. So they're gonna fall into it because the teenagers out there, the order of their associate out there is gonna put pressure on them, and because they weren't given the chance in the first place to go out there and experience it for themselves and know how to deal with it before they grow up. So they're going to eventually fall into it because they are now in midst of people who they weren't informed how to deal with these people rather than just keep them in. All right. They didn't get to experience these people while they were growing up to know how to say no for themselves. So for them to want to feel like they belong, they're going to give into this peer pressure from other teenagers also not knowing how to defend themselves. So you think that when parents allow children to go out and mingle or socialize and you get to see stuff for yourself, it helps you stand up against bullies. Does it help you stand up against bullies? Does it help you also, like you were saying something about going for interviews and all that, shaking because you've never had chance to express yourself before in among folks like that? Restricting children, do you feel like letting children go out, associate and all that, also build up their confidence in that area?
Yes. 100%.
It does.
Yes.
So when children, so tell that to the parents.
And children, yes, what Agatha said, do not compare them with other children. That's another thing. I'm going to talk about that. I say this, but the thing we are just talking about is that it's going to mess with their social life because they never talk. They kind of like, they weren't even able to go outside and just talk to someone that they call a friend. And now they have to talk to a room full of strangers that they don't know, but they're very, very important people. And this could change your life if you see in the right way. So they're all going to be panicking, still your heart's going to be beating. You're going to be not being able to get words out right, mispronouncing words. And that's going to make you look unserious. And with the Agatha, what Agatha just said, and comparing them with other children, that can mess them up a lot because they're going to be trying to be like the other children, but they don't have the same type of freedom or facility that these children have. And so they're not going to be able to, they're not being themselves because for all they know, being themselves will get them into the dream life that the people with the dream life dream of having, but they couldn't because they're out there trying to be someone else that you compared them to.
And that's the misplaced identity that I was talking about, taking somebody else's identity other than your own because you weren't given the room to actually find yourself by yourself. Then you end up wanting to be like the person that you now have opportunity to get to meet. And Agatha, Lottie just take your question right there. I think that hit him in the hardcore. And then he said, not comparing your children with other children, knowing that there is something called, that's the reason where we get the word personality, all right? Personality. Everyone has his or her own personality. We cannot all be the same. All children are not the same. Even when you have more than one kid, they are all different. Look at them very closely. Watch them. You see that they all have different personality. They might all share the same blood, raised by the same parents, with the same values and culture, but the truth is they are all going to be different. They are all already different, even as children, even as babies. They are different. They react different way. They have the way they want to carry themselves differently. They have the way they view things differently. So their perspective are always going to be different. Gather your children. Let bring up a topic. See the way each of them will bring in their views. Sometimes it's going to be argument. That's when that from there, right there, right then and there, you get to know, oh, this person is like this, and this other one is like that. You understand? Different personality. If children born by same parents, raised with the same value and culture, under the same roof, can have different personality, and much more children from somewhere else or all over the world. So what Lordship is saying and what our lady Agatha Chris is saying is that do not compare your children to other children. Don't even compare your children to your other children, not to talk of children outside, knowing very well that they are all different in their own way. That is why we have the word personality.